The bridge of the Odyssey hummed with the quiet tension of history in the making. Captain Elias Voss stood at the center, hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien fleet through the viewport. The Zalari Dominion, a species known for their rigid hierarchy and brutal efficiency, had invited humanity to the negotiating table. But no one in the Sol Alliance truly believed it was out of goodwill. 5 ships, all armed to the teeth, Jonas Jinx Carter muttered from the engineering console. This is what they call diplomacy? Dr. Sienna Park, the ship's lead scientist, didn't look up from her tablet. It's a show of force, not an attack. They're testing us. They're always testing us, Aisha Patel, the xenolinguist, added. First they tried intimidation, then espionage. Now they want to talk. That means they're curious. Jinx snorted. Yeah, well, let's hope curiosity doesn't kill the space cats. Voss exhaled sharply. Enough. We're here to prove that humanity is worth more as an ally than an enemy. Let's not give them a reason to reconsider. The Odyssey drifted into the docking bay of the Zalari flagship, a massive structure of dark, chitinous plating. The moment the airlock cycled open, the tension tripled. Standing opposite them were the Zalari delegation, tall insectoid bipeds with smooth carapaced skin and piercing silver eyes. At the forefront stood arch-strategist Velka, her exoskeletal armor gleaming under the artificial lighting. "Humans," she said, her voice like metal scraping against stone. "Welcome to the Dominion's heart." The negotiation chamber was cold, deliberately so. The Zalari thrived in sub-zero temperatures, and the humans had been forced to wear insulated suits just to stay comfortable. Another subtle test. The discussions began civilly enough, with Aisha translating formalities and Voss making his case for mutual cooperation. The Zalari remained unreadable, their expressions static, their responses clipped and wary. Then the tension snapped. A Zalari guard stumbled into the room, collapsing to the ground, his body convulsed, limbs twitching erratically. The other Zalari backed away. Within seconds, 2 more fell, their chitin darkening, bodies locking in unnatural angles. Poison. The chamber exploded into chaos. Voss sprang to his feet as alarms blared. "We didn't do this!" Velka's mandibles clicked in fury. "Lies! You bring death to our halls!" Armed guards surged forward. Jinx was already moving, shoving a table into their path. Sienna grabbed Aisha, pulling her back as plasma fire seared across the room. "Evac now!" Voss barked, dodging a strike from a Zalari warrior. He barely avoided the swipe of a serrated limb, drawing his sidearm and firing a shot into the alien's shoulder. Jinx yanked open a wall panel, fingers flying over exposed wiring. "Give me 10 seconds. "We don't have 10 seconds, Sienna snapped. Aisha's voice cut through the chaos. "The poison isn't ours. Velka, think! If we wanted you dead, why would we do it here?" For a fraction of a second, the arch-strategist hesitated. Then a second wave of guards stormed the chamber, and whatever chance they had was gone. The humans ran. Blaster fire tore through the corridors as they sprinted for the docking bay. The ship's AI, Argus, was already responding to the emergency. "Captain," Argus said through the comms, "security lockdown in progress. You have approximately 60 seconds before atmospheric containment is sealed." Jinx cursed. "Then we need to move." Voss led the charge, weaving through the maze of corridors. Behind them, Zalari forces closed in, their movements sharp and efficient. The Dominion didn't waste time with warnings or negotiations. Sienna slammed her palm against the emergency override, forcing the airlock to cycle faster. "Get in! Get in!" Jinx threw himself onto the control panel just as the last of them crossed into the ship. A barrage of plasma fire rattled against the hull as the ramp sealed shut. The Odyssey launched in a burst of engine fire, cutting through the Zalari fleet with barely enough time to spare. Voss collapsed into the captain's chair, his breath ragged. "Damage report," Argus responded immediately. "Moderate hull integrity loss. Shields at 30%. Engine efficiency reduced. And the Zalari? Aisha was already at the sensor station. They're hailing the fleet, calling us, she swallowed, calling us unclean. Sienna exhaled slowly. They think we're contaminated? No, Voss said grimly. They think we're a plague. The Zalari didn't pursue. They didn't need to. The moment the Odyssey broke away, the Dominion broadcast a system-wide message. Humanity is a biological weapon. Contact with them leads to death. Any species that allies with them risks annihilation. Jinx let out a breathless chuckle. Well, that went well. Voss didn't answer. His eyes were on the console, watching as their ship limped toward uncharted space. The Zalari might have let them escape, but they wouldn't let them run forever. No matter where they went, humanity had just become the galaxy's most wanted species. The Odyssey crashed into the surface of Kirax 7 like a dying star. The impact sent a shockwave through the barren, storm-racked landscape, metal screaming as it twisted and buckled. Inside, alarms blared, sparks rained from damaged consoles, and the air reeked of burning circuitry. Voss groaned, pushing himself up from where he'd been thrown against the bulkhead. His ribs ached, but nothing felt broken. Report! Argus, the ship's AI, responded with clipped efficiency. Hull integrity compromised. Engines offline. Atmospheric processors at 20% functionality. Immediate repairs required. Jinx Carter coughed, spitting dust. Translation: we're screwed. Dr. Sienna Park ignored him, already scanning their surroundings. The cockpit windows showed a world of jagged obsidian spires, writhing storms, and an ashen desert that stretched endlessly beneath an eerie violet sky. The wind howled, carrying flecks of metallic dust that corroded anything left exposed for too long. Aisha Patel groaned as she struggled to sit up. Tell me we didn't just land on another death world. Voss exhaled. I've seen worse. Jinx chuckled weakly. Captain, that's the problem with you. You always have. Kirax 7 wasn't just inhospitable. It was deliberately chosen by the Zalari as a dumping ground for lost causes. Whether by exile or execution, nothing sent here was meant to survive. Unfortunately for the Zalari, they had sent humans. The first priority was sealing the hull breaches. The atmosphere outside was barely breathable, laced with particulate toxins that would kill them with prolonged exposure. Sienna set up a makeshift filtration system, scavenging parts from the damaged processors. Jinx handled the power rerouting, muttering complaints about duct tape engineering as he jury-rigged a failing life support system with nothing but salvaged conduits and stubborn optimism. Meanwhile, Aisha studied the local environment. The planet was barren, but not lifeless. Movement flickered at the edges of the storm, shapes low to the ground, watching. Voss noticed too. Predators? Aisha shook her head. Maybe, but they're organized. Voss didn't like the sound of that. Stay armed. We don't know what's out there. Jinx tapped a wrench against the bulkhead. Correction. We don't know what's out there yet. The power flickered, and the ship groaned as Sienna's repairs stabilized the core systems. For now, they had air. But water was another issue. We need to find a source soon, Sienna warned. The emergency reserves will last a few days at best. Aisha hesitated. I think I can help. Everyone turned to her. She pulled up her linguistic interface, filtering through the Zalari archives she'd downloaded before their escape. The Zalari used this planet for more than just executions. There were experiments here. Something about forced adaptation. Voss's expression darkened. Explain. Aisha took a slow breath. They dropped prisoners here, different species, to see who could adapt, and the ones that survived changed. Jinx's grin was all teeth. So you're saying we might have company? Voss nodded. Then we make contact. They ventured out cautiously, weapons at the ready. The wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of minerals and something older, wilder. The first sign of life was a skeleton, massive, twisted, part organic, part metal, the remains of something that had refused to die easily. Sienna knelt beside it. These bones have been altered, reinforced. This isn't just evolution, it's forced augmentation. Aisha scanned the area. There's something else. Movement. 30 meters out. Voss signaled for silence. From the shadows of the rock formations they emerged, creatures with hardened exoskeletons, luminous eyes, and jagged cybernetic limbs. They moved with unnatural fluidity, as if something had taken them apart and reassembled them for survival at any cost. Jinx whistled. Well, that's mildly horrifying. One of them stepped forward. Its eyes gleamed with intelligence. And then, it spoke. Not in Zalari, not in any known tongue, but in something close. Aisha's breath caught. They're using remnants of old languages. I think they recognize us. The creature tilted its head. Then, slowly, in a voice rasping with disuse, it spoke again. Huh, man? Voss met its gaze and made a decision. He lowered his weapon. Yeah, he said, we're human. The creature grinned, a jagged, inhuman expression. Then you will not die. Back at the ship, Argus reported an incoming transmission, not from the Odyssey, not from Earth, from the Zalari Dominion. Their escape had not gone unnoticed. Voss listened as the broadcast played across the damaged speakers. Humanity has proven its nature, a disease that cannot be contained, a force that refuses to die. Outside, the creatures of Kirak 7 watched them, eyes gleaming in the dark. Voss clenched his jaw. The Zalari were afraid. Good. Because humanity wasn't just going to survive, they were going to win. The creatures of Kirak 7, the Forsaken, had once been prisoners, exiles, test subjects. Now, they were something else entirely, survivors reforged by the hellscape around them. Their leader, a towering hybrid of organic and mechanical limbs, called himself Rethak. His glowing amber eyes studied Voss with a mixture of caution and intrigue. You are human, Rethak rasped. We remember your kind. Aisha stepped forward carefully. You've encountered humans before? Rethak's cybernetic jaw flexed. Not us, the old ones. Before the Zalari came, they spoke of humans who defied extinction, who adapted to death. Jinx let out a low whistle. I like these guys already. Voss kept his gaze locked on Rethak. We need water, shelter, and we need to get off this planet. Rethak let out something between a chuckle and a snarl. Off? No one leaves, Kirak 7. Voss crossed his arms. Then I guess we'll be the first. A tense silence stretched between them. Then, to everyone's surprise, Rethak grinned. Perhaps you will. The Forsaken led the humans through a labyrinth of underground caverns, shielding them from the worst of the planet's corrosive storms. Inside, vast reservoirs of purified water gleamed under the bioluminescent fungi clinging to the cavern walls. Ancient machinery, scavenged from forgotten wrecks, hummed faintly in the depths. Jinx inspected a rusted generator. You've got power down here? Rethak nodded. Not much. Enough. His gaze turned to Voss. But not enough to leave. Sienna knelt near the water, running a diagnostic scan. These filtration systems are Zalari-made. They were, Rethak said. We made them better. Aisha caught the hidden meaning. You've been altering Zalari tech? Rethak bared his jagged teeth. We learned. We changed. They built us to die, and we refused. Jinx smirked. See, now that is relatable. The mood darkened as Aisha stepped forward. The Zalari sent out a transmission. They've declared humanity a plague. If they find us here, they will burn this world, Rethak finished. His clawed fingers flexed. We have seen it before. Voss exhaled. Then we have two options: hide or fight. Rathak's grin widened. Fight. The War Council took place around a crude stone table, etched with battle plans from 100 lost causes. Voss and his crew studied the rough holographic projections of Zalari patrol routes. If the Dominion wanted them erased, they would send a fleet. Jinx frowned. We don't exactly have a warship. Rathak's glowing eyes gleamed. Number. But we have something better. The cavern doors groaned open, revealing the graveyard. Dozens of crashed Zalari ships, half buried in the blackened sand, their remains cannibalized for parts. Weapons, power cells, engines, remnants of 1,000 failed rebellions. Sienna's eyes widened. You've been hoarding Zalari wreckage? Rathak's voice held quiet satisfaction. We do not die easily. Voss stepped forward, running a hand over the rusted hull of a partially intact dreadnought. It would never fly again, not fully, but its weapon systems could be salvaged. He turned to Jinx. Can you get these online? Jinx cracked his knuckles. Can a Deathworlder build a bomb out of a coffee maker? Hell yeah. Voss nodded. Then let's make sure when the Zalari come, they regret it. As they worked, Argus patched into the Dominion's local transmissions. The news wasn't good. The Zalari have dispatched a fleet. Estimated arrival, 18 hours. Aisha clenched her fists. They're coming to wipe this place clean. Rathak's voice rumbled. Then we make them choke on the ashes. Sienna analyzed the salvaged weapons. We don't have enough firepower to win, but we can hurt them. If we can disable their command ship, we buy time. Voss considered. Jinx, can we rig the wrecks? Jinx grinned. Captain, I was born to rig wrecks. Rathak let out a low growl of approval. You will make a fine Forsaken. Jinx winked. I prefer problem-solving enthusiast, but I'll take it. The plan was simple. Lure the Zalari in, cripple their fleet, and hijack a working ship before reinforcements arrived. Rathak turned to Voss, voice heavy with meaning. And if we fail? Voss's answer was immediate. Then we die on our feet. Rathak grinned. Good. Hours passed in a blur of preparations. Traps were set, weapons activated. The wreckage turned into a graveyard waiting to be filled. The Forsaken moved with eerie efficiency, born survivors molded into something deadlier. Aisha watched them work. They were left here to die, and they became something the Zalari fear. Sienna adjusted a plasma rifle. They adapted, just like we do. Jinx tightened the final circuit on a jury-rigged EMP. And now, we make sure the Zalari never forget that mistake. The first warning came from Argus. Enemy fleet detected. They have arrived. Voss stood at the command station, eyes locked on the incoming warships. The storm-lit sky burned with the glow of descending vessels, sleek and predatory. The Zalari thought they were coming to exterminate vermin. They had no idea they were walking into a nightmare. Voss's voice was calm. All stations, ready? The Forsaken took their positions. Jinx's fingers hovered over the detonator. Aisha steadied her breath. Rathak's claws flexed. The Zalari descended, and humanity rose to meet them. The Zalari fleet sliced through the storm-racked skies of Kirax 7, their sleek warships gleaming with the cold precision of executioners. From orbit, they had scanned the ruined husk of the world and found only wreckage and vermin. This would not be a battle, not truly. It would be a purge. Then the first explosion tore through their ranks. A Zalari frigate, moving into low orbit, vanished in a storm of fire and twisted metal as one of Jinx's buried charges detonated. Plasma flared across the battlefield as centuries-old wreckage, rigged with improvised ordnance, came alive with deadly intent. In the chaos, the Forsaken struck. From the shadows of the obsidian spires, they launched a coordinated assault. Crude but effective railguns, built from scavenged Zalari tech, punched holes in enemy dropships, sending them plummeting in spirals of wreckage and flame. On the Odyssey's bridge, Voss watched the battle unfold, voice sharp and steady. "Aisha, status?" Aisha, locked into the ship's battered sensors, scanned the chaos. "We've crippled 2 of their landing ships, but more are coming." "Jinx?" Jinx's laughter crackled through the comms. "Oh, you're gonna love this." He triggered the next wave of traps, jury-rigged EMP mines hidden in the wreckage. They detonated in bursts of crackling blue energy, sending Zalari war machines crashing down in tangled heaps of dead circuitry. A furious Zalari command transmission cut through the static. These things should be dead. What are they?" The Forsaken answered with fire and steel. The Zalari adapted quickly. Once they realized they weren't fighting a broken colony but an evolved nightmare, they pulled back, regrouping. From the command ship, Arch-Strategist Velka snarled orders. "They fight as if they know our tactics. Cut off their retreat." On the ground, Voss knew exactly what was coming. The Zalari had numbers, firepower, order. But humans had chaos. "Sienna," he ordered, "how fast can we get one of those wrecked warships operational?" Sienna wiped grime from her face. "With a miracle? 10 minutes. "We don't have 10 minutes. "Then I suggest you start praying." The Forsaken held the line with feral efficiency, moving through the wreckage like phantoms, striking and vanishing before the Zalari could pin them down. But the enemy was adapting, deploying combat drones, forcing the defenders into tighter formations. Jinx wiped sweat from his brow, fingers flying over jury-rigged controls. "If I overload the Dreadnought's core, I can give us a makeshift railgun, but we'll only get 1 shot." Voss made a decision. "Then we make it count." The Zalari command ship descended, heavy with firepower, ready to end the battle. Velka watched from the bridge, cold and assured. The humans had fought well, but their time was up. Then the sky burned. The Dreadnought cannon, powered by Jinx's mad genius and sheer desperation, roared to life. A pillar of blinding energy erupted from the ground, spearing through the Zalari flagship. For the first time in Dominion history, a human-rigged war machine took down a Zalari command vessel. Velka's last thought before the explosion consumed her was not of victory, but of terror. Humanity was not just surviving. They were evolving. The moment the command ship fell, the Zalari broke. With their leader gone and their forces scattered, the remaining warships retreated, their once assured extermination campaign shattered. In the silence that followed, Rethak turned to Voss, expression unreadable. "You did not just fight them," he murmured. "You changed the war." Voss exhaled, watching the burning wreckage fall from the sky. "We're still alive." Rethak's cybernetic grin was sharp. "And now they fear you." The Odyssey, patched together with scavenged Zalari technology, rose from the ruins of Kirek 7. Sienna leaned back in her chair, exhausted. "So, we survived," Aisha smirked. "As always." Jinx stretched, grinning. "Think we made an impression?" From the fractured remains of the Dominion fleet, a message spread across the galaxy. The humans cannot be killed. The humans will not die. And across the stars, whispers grew. Humanity's secret was out. They were the immortal Deathworlders.